sat in an interview, and the first question you're most likely asked is, tell me about yourself. And if you are anything like most of us, then you are probably thinking, what on earth do I say? And what the hell do they actually want to know? Well, I'm a recruiter with almost 10 years' experience, and I have asked and heard answers to this question more times than I can count. And I'm going to go through exactly how you should answer this for success in this video. So keep watching. So, first up, we need to look at what this question even means because it's so broad. And if you've had a full life or quite an extensive career, then there's probably a lot to talk about. But ultimately, this question is your way to demonstrate to the employer how well you can summarize and how well you can articulate yourself and your experience. So, it isn't a time for you to dive into your whole career history, but instead, it should be maybe a couple of minutes long maximum. And you want it to be a real focus of your experience that relates or your experience that is transferable for the job that you're going for. So when you're writing your resume, think of it as similar to your opening statement, but just a little bit longer. It is the chance to highlight who you are, the skills that you have, which relate to the company and the role, and of course, to demonstrate a little bit of your personality too. Before we go into a few scripts that I've written for you that you can then take, tailor, and make your own, I wanted to go through a few do's and don'ts that have come up time and time again when I've asked this question and highlight common mistakes that I've seen people make so that you don't make the same ones. So, if we look at the don'ts first, first up, you don't want to go through your entire life story. So, a first stage interview is typically anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, and you will have plenty of time to go into more detail about your career. But the tell me about yourself question, it's much more about the opener. So, it isn't that time to talk through every educational, personal, or career milestone. You also do not want to use it to start talking bad about your current company. This one goes without saying at any point of the interview. Do not bring this up. Even if they were the worst employers ever, just use this time to highlight what you're good at and save the negative talk about your current employer to your family and friends, who I'm sure will be more than happy to listen and join in with their own thoughts. You also don't want to start doing a resume walkthrough. Now, this is the number one error that people make. They start giving a really comprehensive career overview when it's not necessary at this stage. As I said, there will be time for this later in the interview. And any interview I have had, which has been really impressive, is it's never really a play by play of the role, but it's more of a generic conversation where the experience that person's gained in companies has come up naturally in conversation as an example of how that skill that they've learned or how the issue they've solved would be beneficial to this new employer. So make sure that you're not doing a play by play and you're being really specific instead. And then finally, don't go round in circles. So no babbling. Make sure that you've got a really well rehearsed answer to this question that you can use time and time again. So keep it short, keep it concise. And if the interviewer wants to know more, then they will prompt you to expand on certain areas after you've answered the question or further on throughout the interview. So now I've covered the don'ts, let's look at the do's. So you want to keep your skills and your experience really relevant to this role. So focus on the skills that directly match what they're hiring for, which you can then do when you're looking at your prep work. This is your chance to subtly say, I understand what you need, and here's why I'm a fit without listing your entire resume. Now, even though you're not listing every single thing in answer to this question, what would be good to do is to mention qualifications or training courses that have been beneficial to this role specifically. So I really love it when people do this because it shows that you're intentional about your personal development and that you're someone that likes to keep learning, which hiring managers always look for as a positive trait. You also want to highlight one or two meaningful achievements. So it could be a problem that you solved or a process you've improved, or even a result that you might be really proud of. This then gives the interviewer something concrete to hook into, and they can dive a bit deeper with their interview questions on that specific achievement. And then, really importantly, you need to make sure you're giving a flavor of who you are as a person, because at the end of the day, being in a job, you have to be yourself. So don't show up as anyone different in your interview or with a persona that you then wouldn't be able to uphold. Be really honest about how you like to work, what motivates you, or the type of environment that you thrive in, because you hear it time and time again in recruitment, but people hire people, not just skill sets. And it's important that you find a company that aligns with the way you like to work for it to work for you long term. And finally, the last one in the do section is to structure your answer so that it flows seamlessly. So, just like people are told to use the STAR method for competency questions when structuring their answer, a really simple framework that I like to use for the tell me about yourself question is the SEEK method. So, this is how the SEEK method breaks down. You've got the S for the skills, E is for your education and experience, A is achievement, so a standout win, and T is for the type of person. So, again, how you work and what you value. So, using that SEEK method should help you when falling back onto a structure that you can follow, that you can then hit on those key points time and time again so that you're not missing anything when you're answering that question. So, we've covered off the do's, the don'ts, the SEEK method. Now, let's get into some scripts that you can take and tailor to make your own. So, for the first one, I'm going to pretend I'm going for an office administrator role. I would sit down with the employer and they would typically say, "Hi, Amy, nice to meet you. Can you please tell me about yourself?" So, I'm going to get in character and I am just going to talk you through how I would answer that question. Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to meet with you today. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. So, to give you a little bit of background, I'm an experienced office administrator with 10 years' experience, and I've got a really strong background in supporting busy teams and keeping day to day operations running smoothly. I'm really confident when it comes to using systems, particularly things like Microsoft Office and different CRM tools. And to be honest with you, I just thrive when juggling different priorities. So it could be diary management, inbox management. I just really have one of those brains that likes to be kept busy. Now, when it comes to my education, I've got a solid foundation in administrative and office based work because I've spent the last 10 years working for Apple and I've taken courses in YZ. One of my favorite achievements was recently where the office was in a little bit of chaos and I made sure I could streamline all of our admin processes. So, for example, I reorganized filing systems, I was standardizing templates, and once I'd done that, there was a huge reduction in the errors and it saved the team a lot of time because they knew exactly where they were going for each individual file. From a personal standpoint, I would say I am reliable, proactive, and detail orientated and focused. And I know that you can just say those words, but I really do live by them. I take a real pride in being the person who makes things easier for others and makes sure nothing gets missed. I'm now really looking for an opportunity where I can bring my experience and my skills to a new, smaller environment where you can really see the impact that you're making in the company. And this is why the opportunity with you really stood out to me. So that's my answer for the administrative role. And hopefully you can see I was trying to show a little bit of my personality as I answered the question, but I was still touching on the skills, education, experience, and the type of person that I am. I'm going to give you one more example as if I was going for a recruitment role. It's same structure, slightly different answer, so that you can hopefully look at both and see which one you resonate with more to use as a template for you answering your own. So, hi Amy, nice to meet you. Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself? Yeah, of course. So let me give you a bit of context first. I've been working in recruitment for 6 years now, and you might have seen on my resume that I actually started with one of the big six. And I was there for 4 years before moving into an independent for 2 years, a more smaller family run business. Now, I think when you work in recruitment, the role is so varied, and that is no different for me. So my role has covered end to end recruitment. It's anything from business development activities through to candidate qualification, offer negotiation. I cover everything. And to be honest with you, I love each area as much as the other. I actually had a strange background because I studied psychology at university. And despite achieving a first, I never went into following the field. But I think it's come in really handy to understand how to speak with people and how to find common ground quickly, which is so important in this role. Now, something I'm really proud of is since working in recruitment, every year my billings have increased. And this last year has been my best yet. I've placed with 20 clients across Europe and America, and I'm bringing in new clients consistently. Now, I like to think that I'm a really competitive person. I think you have to be in sales, but I would also say that I'm super supportive. I get a real kick out of seeing others succeed and training them on areas that they need support. I'm often creating PowerPoints in my own time to help coach junior members and make sure that the team hits targets. So I think now what's really appealed to me about this role is that this is an opportunity for me to take a bit of a step back on my personal billings whilst taking a step forward in mentoring junior teams to hit their goals. And over the last couple of years, that's where I've realized that I love. And that's what appealed to me about applying for here, because you're given the opportunity for somebody to come in, coach, mentor, and make sure that the team are hitting their targets. There you have it. There's my two scripts. And I really hope that that's helpful for you to take those and use areas that you feel that resonate and would work for you, and then just tailor the scripts to make your own. So take these examples, create one that works for you, create one that works for your industry, but don't forget that every interview is all about connection with the other person. So don't be robotic, show up as yourself, but do try and match the other person's energy and make sure that you're thinking, do I actually get a good feeling from them? as much as they are getting from you, because you have to make sure that the role that you're going for is the role that you want. So I hope it's helped. And if you're looking for a deeper dive into not only how to answer the tell me about yourself question, but how to nail the whole job interview, then check out my video on that here. And I'll see you in the next clip.